It's week 3 of the fantasy football season. You're hurting at wide receiver. You're trying to find a guy to add to the end of your bench or possibly start a guy to put a chip on, a guy with some upside, a guy that's seeing a new opportunity that could lead to fantasy production, and you want to make that gamble. A guy that we're looking at today is Jalen Nailor of the Minnesota Vikings. The other wide receivers on the depth chart are banged up, and his situation has drastically changed. He's running a lot more routes, seeing more opportunity, and we're going to deep dive his stats today to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're doing these deep dives every day, especially those guys climbing the depth chart, those guys with a change in situation, those guys at the top of the waiver wire that you're questioning about. We're going to go over the advanced metrics so you can make your choice and you're more informed when you make that choice. Click that button, stop missing out. But Justin Jefferson dealing with an injury day to day. We saw that on Sunday. Hopefully he comes back soon. But Jordan Addison dealing with an ankle injury as well. Might be out a little bit longer, but we're watching these wide receivers, and in steps in Jalen Nailor, who ran on 93% of the snaps last week. Got a lot of opportunities. Saw just 4 targets though, but 3 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. So he's getting more opportunity, and you need to know more about him. But at Michigan State, his final year there, caught just 37 balls, 694 yards, and 6 touchdowns. But that equated to a 21% market share in Michigan State's passing production. They just did not throw the ball more. Second in line in receiving yards after Jaden Reed. But the thing to note, too, he was getting a very good average depth of target. 14.2 in 2021 and 16 in 2020. That tells us he gets targets deep downfield. And if that transitions to the NFL level over a bigger sample, then that means there's more opportunities of getting deep balls, which means splash plays at the NFL level, which is something we might see once he starts running more routes and more games for the Minnesota Vikings. His strength is his speed, his burst, creativity running routes, creating separation. His weaknesses coming out of Michigan State was pretty much being consistent. And that being said, all he had to do is develop his skill set going forward and to get more opportunity on the field, which he is now. He got drafted in the 6th round of 2022, been waiting for his time. Now it's his time to step up. Runs a 4.5 40-yard dash, so we got enough speed to burn, and we got a good burst score on top of that, and we're just now starting to get productive. Week 1, 9.1 PPR fantasy points. Enough for a wide receiver 3+, but still nothing to shake a stick at in this offense. 14.4 in week 2 against the Niners, against tough competition, and with Jordan Addison out. So he's getting more opportunities here. And then last week he ran on 100% of the routes. 100% route participation rate's very good. He's getting a lot of opportunities that way. 31 routes ran, a 16.7% target share. So he's getting a lot of workload in this offense. Week 1, on his one target, it was for 21 yards. He's getting a 12.8 average depth of target in week 2. This indicates he's getting targets deep downfield, along with getting moved around the offense. That being said, there's some opportunities here with him running a lot of routes, seeing some targets, and those targets being a little bit deeper downfield. Again, at 14.4 average depth of target there listed below. We're getting work here running routes. Our target share is going to go up a bit. It's 10% on average on the season. But with Jordan Addison out, that's going to increase going forward. One thing that might prevent him from fully breaking out is Sam Darnold not pushing it downfield. We do have some pass attempts going downfield, but he likes to be to the short and intermediate part of his game. Also, dropbacks is going to be very important. He had 31 dropbacks against San Francisco in week 2. So in those games where the game script's pushed, more targets will go to Jalen Nailor. On top of that, the Giant game, when the game script's going good for the Vikings, they're going to throw it less, which means a lot of those dropbacks and targets and passing attempts will go to Justin Jefferson, which is going to hurt a lot of the pass catchers on the Vikings. That's common sense. And when you're looking at the Minnesota Vikings, one thing we like about this offense is that they're very fast-paced. They have been for quite some time now, multiple years. They're usually in the top 5 in pacing, and they're a fast-paced team. They want to run a lot of plays. They want to get the ball out, and they want to keep the defense on their heels. That means more plays ran, more pass attempts, which means more upside for these players, especially 5 extra plays a game or something like that. That adds up over time for fantasy production, also for a player's upside. That's something to note for the Minnesota Vikings. They also throw the ball a lot. They're also in 3 wide receiver sets a lot. And there's not much competition behind Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Jalen Nailor. They liked Jalen Nailor in preseason and training camp. They talked about him a lot. He was in a lot of the highlights for Darnold and McCarthy and the other guys there. They're not going to soak up a lot of target share unless something happens. So you're looking at Jalen Nailor to get 100% of the routes ran this week, if not around 85 to 90, 95%. Because if Jordan Addison is out again, Nailor's going to get a lot of opportunity like we saw last week. And you're looking at the matchups here. You want to look at the games where the game scripts are pushed. This Houston game might be very good for him. But when you look at the rankings among all the other fantasy football assets, he's ranked in the 120-some range. And that being said, if you're looking at him for a start-sit decision, more than likely you're looking at another jabroni player. And really, when you're looking at jabroni players, you're just flipping a coin. So if you're really asking me what I think about him versus another player around this range, I'm pretty much going to flip a coin for you. And that's pretty much what it is. You're hoping that this player crosses the goal line. You're hoping the targets break their way because there's another wide receiver in the offense, or if there's something strange going on in the offense that's preventing this player from being a lock. You can say the same story about all these players here on the list. You can make that same case. That being said, they're not very predictable. None of these players are. You can really cross ties with game scripts, the team, and everything else. But more than likely, from a macro perspective, it's a coin flip when you're looking at Jalen Nailor. That being said, more than likely, he's not startable in your league unless you're really hurting. But you don't need him because you want to save fab, and he's too much of a gamble right now. He's just roster fodder to you. You're good at wide receiver. I told you to be good at wide receiver once you got out of your draft. You need him because you need a wide receiver that's getting work. And plain and simple, he's a wide receiver that's getting work. And you need any wide receiver that's out there that is getting work. And there's not many on the waiver wire right now. This wide receiver class for week 3 is not very good. And you're just looking for a wide receiver that's running a lot of routes, seeing some targets, and getting some opportunity. That's what Nailor is. The chances of fantasy production is always just going to be up in the air. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.